Your time is up, my time is now. You can't see me, my time is now. It's the franchise where I'm shining now. You can't see me, my time is now. In case you forgot or fell off, I'm still hot.
Yo, what's good, YouTube? What's good, gamers? It's your boy Lincoln Clay coming back with another video. Remember to hit like, subscribe, and if you would, please hit the like button. It helps spread my video out to a wider audience, and please subscribe. So, there's a lot of news this week, and I just didn't have the time to make videos on each subject. It would have took me forever. So, I'll just give you a little quick rundown this week of what's been going on. Starting with the reveal of the Nintendo Labo. I guess it's some cardboard that sells for $80. I really don't have any opinion about that, so I didn't see the need to make a video about that. And in other news this week, we had the situation with the YouTube demonetization of smaller channels. And with only 13 subscribers, I don't think that's going to be an issue I'll have to worry about for quite a while. And also this week in the news, we've got continued leaks from Microsoft and other developers about upcoming games and whatnot. But not to beat a dead horse, but Microsoft continues to string along their fan base with leaks, rumors, promises of first-party games that probably won't materialize for a couple of years. So unless they show something at E3, this year with 2018 releases for E3 this year, I'm convinced everything they show is going to launch in 2019, 2020 for the Xbox too. But we'll wait and see what happens at E3. And so that's the news that I got for this week. So let's get on to the topic at hand. So, as most of you know, both Bungie and EA have been in gaming news ever since the launch of Destiny 2. And the shit that both of these companies have done, the list goes on and on and on. I'm not really going to get into that. If you want to get a breakdown of what both of these companies have been doing, I'd suggest you check out a YouTuber who goes by the name of Young Yeah. He's a guy who despises shady business practices, and whenever he finds out something about a developer or a publisher pulling some bullshit, he will definitely speak his mind on it. So I would suggest checking out his videos. So I'm trying to determine who's worse, Bungie or EA. But I guess before I get into that, I should put an asterisk on this because EA is a publisher and they pretty much do what they want. They're not, really answering to anybody. Whereas Bungie, they might be, being controlled by Activision. So I don't know. Maybe the shit that they're pulling, maybe it's beyond their control. Maybe Activision is making them do it. We pretty much know that all the shit that they've been doing with Destiny 2 centers around microtransactions. Whether it's their own greed or whether Activision's pulling the string, I really don't know. But I guess before I determine which one of these companies is worse, let's break down the history of these companies a little bit first, starting with Bungie. The first Halo launched with the original Xbox, and it was hard for me to take the game serious. It had good graphics, but I guess the thing that made me think the game was a joke was when you shoot those little minions or aliens, they let out this little goofy laugh, this little so I couldn't get into it. But when the second Halo came out, I absolutely fell in love with that one, especially with the online multiplayer. And I believe when the first DLC, a map came out for Halo 2, I believe that one was free. But after that, they started charging, for maps. And Bungie, if I remember correctly back then, in so many words, they tried to say that they wanted all their DLC to be free, but it was more or less Microsoft pulling the strings and and making them, charge people for these maps. So, you know, so so Halo 3, that that one pretty much came and went, I really didn't really do that much for me. It wasn't a bad game, but it wasn't a game that made me jump out of my socks. And I believe Bungie left after Halo 3, and when they left, you know, um, I was under the impression that they wanted to get out from under Microsoft's thumb and and do their own thing. When Bungie left Microsoft, I assumed it was because Microsoft was too meddlesome, too controlling, and Bungie wanted to create other games, and they were all about the consumer. So I was happy for Bungie when they released the first Destiny, but I was disillusioned into thinking they wanted to give consumers a complete experience without paid DLC or microtransactions. Now you have all this shit with this Destiny 2 centered around microtransaction, and every time there's a backlash, Bungie acts like they fixed it, but they actually snuck in some bullshit on another end. So they continue to pull bullshit to this day, even though they saw what happened, to EA and this Star Wars bullshit. So, that's pretty much them. This is too much shit to list. Now, let's talk about EA. My issues with EA go all the way back to when they signed that exclusive deal with the NFL to be the exclusive game publisher for the NFL. And before they signed that contract with the NFL, there was a lot of games out there. You had NFL Blitz, 2K Football, Quarterback Club. There was a whole lot of football games out there. But Madden's main competition, I believe, came from Sega's 2K Football. I believe that was the better game because I absolutely love, 2K Football. I played it back when it was on the Dreamcast. And I think that was Madden's biggest competition. And, this is just my belief, but I think EA knew that, Sega was making the better football game with the 2K franchise. And I think EA knew it was only a matter of time before more and more people start gravitating over towards that game. So I think they signed that deal with the NFL to eliminate the competition. And so I believe that deal was for $300 million over 5 years. So I already knew it was going to be 5 years of misery because leading up to that exclusive contract with the NFL, it seemed like Madden was the same shit every year. Whereas 2K was being pretty creative with their games. They was introducing new features into the game every year. And so once EA signed that deal with the NFL, already knew they had no incentive to make a good football game. So I knew they was going to put out the same bullshit year after year. But to me, it was taking a step further because it seemed like every year on Madden, there was some kind of bullshit ass exploits that people were using online, and it was leading up to a lot of complaints and stuff. So instead of releasing updates, patches and stuff to fix these exploits, pretty much towards the end of the year, every year towards the end of the year, they would claim to listen to player feedback, and they would promise that whatever was wrong with the game, they would fix it on next year's game. So the next year game would come out, they would fix what everybody was complaining about the previous year, but 2 more exploits would come out on that next year's game. So after a couple of years, I got to think that they were doing this shit on purpose. They were deliberately building broken games with the promise of fixing it the next year. So after a couple of years of this, I was like, fuck this, I'm done with Madden. I ain't buying this bullshit no more. So I hadn't bought Madden in like 6-7 years. But I don't think that EA started making good Madden games until they started putting the microtransactions in on this Ultimate Team shit. And so, from there, the rest is pretty much history. We know with, Need for Speed, Star Wars Battlefront, At this point, I don't think there's a game that EA makes that doesn't have microtransactions in it. And I'm almost certain that, no, there's no almost certain. This Anthem that they're going to be coming out with, I think later this year, it's a certainty that it's going to have microtransactions in it. I'm not interested in buying their version of Destiny that's loaded with microtransactions. So the hell with that. I'm not interested in that shit. But my overall, verdict on who's worse, I think in the short term, right now, at this moment, I think Bungie's worse. They see all the shit that's going on with EA, and they continue to keep pulling bullshit. And every time the community complains about it, they move the goalposts and act like they fixed it. But over the long haul, I think EA's been the worst company because they've pulled bullshit after bullshit for years. So, I mean, I really don't care that much for either one of them. But Bungie, they've, in these, last couple years, they have really shocked me. I never thought in my wildest dreams they would end up being one of the worst companies out there right now in gaming. But, if you got an opinion or you want to add something to it, feel free to, add something in the comments section. And again, hit the like, subscribe. Thanks for watching the video. This is your boy Lincoln Clay. I'm out.